muscle we started with for you guys was this one. That was the easiest to find and separate. So that muscle was going to be your xiphohumerales, correct? After that xiphohumerales, you had these next two, which were both going to be pectoralis majors and minors. So pectoralis major is on top of the pectoralis minor. Is that correct? Yes. Everybody's going, what? So above your xiphohumerales is your pectoralis minor, and then your pectoralis major, and then you had a muscle that went straight across above your pectoralis major all the way to your lower arm. That was going to be your pectoantebrachialis. And if you look on top of the pectoantebrachialis, there was going to be another muscle that you could see from the dorsal side or the ventral side that went from the neck all the way to the arm. That was going to be the clavoantebrachialis, or clavobrachialis. Okay? So, clavobrachialis, pectoantebrachialis, pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, xiphohumeralis, and then on the side you had latissimus dorsi. Okay, underneath that latissimus dorsi, if you come over to the stomach, the part that you're seeing up here, the outermost layer was going to be your external oblique, and if you pulled up that external oblique, just under it, you were going to be able to see your internal oblique. And if you look underneath that internal oblique, on the other side of it, there was going to be a transverse abdominis, which was the inside muscle. Okay. What else did we do? Since we're up here, on the upper shoulder, I said first try to find this that makes an arch. That was going to be your spinodeltoid. Above the spinodeltoid was going to be this thin muscle going at an angle. That was your levitator scapulae. And then this thin muscle, one up here, was going to be your acromiotrapezius. So we had the acromiotrapezius, we had a levitator scapulae, we had a spinodeltoid, we had a triceps. Both of these were going to be your triceps. And then we could still see our clavobrachialis here. Okay. If we did, on this side, we should have been able to pull up your clavobrachialis and look underneath. This is still going to be your tricep, but if we look down in there, we were going to be able to find a bicept. Okay. And in the leg,
she's going to grab the arm thing that she has labeled.
Okay, good. And in the leg, you have a superficial muscle that's the sartorius, and a superficial muscle which is the gracilis. So if we pick up the sartorius and look under it, you have three muscles that we're going to see. One here, and one in the middle. The one in the middle was the rectus femoris. This muscle that is on the medial side of the rectus femoris is the vastus medialis. This muscle that is on the lateral side of the rectus femoris is the vastus lateralis. So you have the rectus femoris, the vastus lateralis, and the vastus medius. Medial side, lateral side. So then we put the sartorius back on top of it and pick up the gracilis, and just under that gracilis there were four big muscles we could see. One that comes around from the dorsal side. This was your semitendinosus. This larger muscle that goes across is your semimembranosus. This muscle that is a bigger triangle is your adductor femoris, and then this smaller triangular muscle is your adductor longus. So semitendinosus, semimembranosus, adductor femoris, adductor longus, and then you put your gracilis back on top of it. Rectus femoris, vastus medius, medialis, vastus lateralis, and then put the sartorius back on top of it. Okay. Calf muscle was your gastrocnemius, and then under that calf muscle, if we looked this way, we could find another larger muscle underneath it, and the larger muscle that's underneath it is going to be the soleus, So the soleus underneath it. So gastrocnemius, then soleus. And then on the very front of that tibia bone is the tibialis cranialis, or tibia cranialis. Sometimes it's called the tibia anterialis. Okay. Additionally, you had some digitorum, some flexors and extensors. Let's see. Back here on the rear, you have a very large muscle on the back side, or the dorsal side of the leg. That's the biceps femoris. If you look above that biceps femoris, there should be a longer muscle. Here, you didn't have a very good one.
Was it on the other side? One was gone completely, and you had one, a little one.
And you have a cauda femoralis. Okay, so the biceps femoris and a cauda femoralis. The big one's the biceps femoris. This longer one next to it is the cauda femoralis. And then above that cauda femoralis, you've got two sections here. You have a gluteus medius and a gluteus maximus. Okay. What other things do we cover? Oh, the neck muscles. We had a clavotrapezius back here behind the neck. And when we were on the other side, we didn't do the throat, did we? Okay. After we spent all that time separating it. You have a cheek muscle, which is the masseter. And on each side here, you have a digastric. Right here, you had a myohyaloid. In the very center, you had a sternohyoid. And then on each side, you had a sternomastoid. So masseter, digastric, gygastric, myohyaloid, sternohyoid, and then on each side of the sternohyoid is the sternomastoid. Okay. On the arms, when you separate them away, where do we do that? Okay.
One is the brachialis.
Okay, the top one here is relatively thin. The very first one is the brachioradialis. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. The next one in is
the brachialis is the first one.
Brachialis.
No. The brachialis is right there. The radiobrachialis.
So the radiobrachialis is the first one.
Here. Mm-hmm. So the triceps brachia. I have my brachialis. This is my...
There's three.
Brachioradialis.
That would be more technically
that
one.
Is, yeah. Mm-hmm. So
this is
what I'm calling. This is what I'm calling one. Yeah. You've got it number 2. Yeah. So brachioradialis. Okay. Second one then, which is the third one for you, is extensor carpi radialis. This one, the second one. The third one is going to be, which is the fourth one for you, extensor digitorum. There's a communis, then there's an extensor digitorum lateralis, and then the very one on the bottom was going to be your carpi ulnaris, or extensor carpi ulnaris. So this one down here is the carpi ulnaris. These two are both carpi ulnarises. This one on top is the brachioradialis. And then the next two are your carpi. Where did I put? Extensor digitorums. Okay. So what I would do would be make a little signal or make a little chart and go, first muscle in that arm is brachioradialis. Second two in here that we're looking at are going to be the
extensor carpi. This one.
Carpi radialis. There's two different ones there, but you got a carpi radialis and another carpi radialis, and then down here you've got the carpi ulnarius. All right.
You missed these. She has it going as that this was the first one. This would be the second one. This would be the third. Fourth.
All right, so call them out to me. Number 1,
Brachioradialis.
Number 2,
the extensor carpi radialis longus.
okay, and number 3,
Would be the extensor digitorum communis.
okay, and then
the extensor digitorum laterus.
and then
the ulnus ulnaris. The extensor of the flexor.
carpi ulnaris.
Yeah.
Okay, so think of this. These two are going to be the ulnaris. Look where they're going to. What is this bone on the pinky side?
Ulna.
The ulna. So these two down here are going to be the what?
Ulnaris.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
And what did we decide? Did anybody else ever go and see what we decided this was that was sitting on the scapula? What is this sitting on the scapula? The big thick muscle. We didn't do any of the deep muscles. This is the
trapezius is
Yes,
right.
No, it's up at the clavitrapezius.
It's like in a
trapezius
triangle.
is here. Trapezius is there. Chromotrapezius is here.
Can you do the
He ran out of space.